Okay, well this is what I got done so far today. Pushed out a really big rock. There's a couple more in here that I cannot move, so I would need an excavator to fix it, but cut this out, pushed it all out. It's a little bit more level. I'm gonna have to do a bit more cleaning up, but push some big stumps out over here. Nothing but rocks. But that's what you can do in about an hour and a half with a dozer of that size. You can get that big stump down there is out. So needs a bit more cleaning up, but I want to get most of the trail done, and then I can do the final touch-ups once I can get into some places and get some extra dirt, cut it out like I did out of that hillside and push more dirt out. But the problem is, every time you push dirt out, there's a lot more rocks. It's nothing but rocks. So an excavator and a dozer would be really handy, but I don't have the money for either of those right now, and this one's got to go back into the bush sooner than later. So alright, I'm gonna see if I can get another little bit done here, but then I gotta go take the goats home. Good afternoon, everybody. The last time I was recording, the camera died, so this is what our trail looks like now. As you can see, big stones and holes everywhere, so I'll have to come back and do some work, but it's coming together quite well. Lots of big stones to deal with, so it'd be nice to have an excavator, but I can also try and move them with the grapple on the forwarder. So anyways, let's hike up here, get the dozer started. So I tried to push the brush, just the brush up there. I had to take some of this dirt to cover up some of these. There's some really big rocks up here. Couple of big stumps and stones. That's a big rock face, so that's not going to be pasture or anything, so I'm going to try and put all the stones and everything on the wall for now, make a pile. Made a pile here, so it's still really wet down up that trail, so I'm not even bothering with that because I don't have enough dirt right here but the processor's up on the right hand side there, and if I come down from that hillside I should be able to get something, hopefully, or just more rocks. Like I said, there's some big ones. That one's massive. But it came out, so that's the important part. So did those ones. So I'm going to try and take from the dozer, which is right there. I'm going to push more of that hillside out and try and bring this up to level here. So we'll see what we can do. So there's a big, huge rock in this hillside that I haven't been able to get out. I could maybe come back at it this way and try and knock it out, and then push all that brush into that way. Try and cut more of that hillside out if I need to, but I'm going to try and take some of this back here out of that hillside and push it all the way down here and into that spot over there. So that's the plan. So I'm just going to let the dozer run for a few minutes, let it get warmed up. But as you can see right behind the dozer, I got those stumps to take out. I got that big one to take out. There's these couple here. I'm not going to try with the big stone, but I'm going to have to try and get that one out. Hopefully it's just a little one. There's another one here. Stumps and stones. And then down there's a big stone. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably try and push out what I've got up over there, and then I'll turn around and I'll come back and I'll push these stumps up and out over into here, push that all up the hillside there, because at least this flat ground, you know, you can walk your horse in and let them eat a little bit maybe, or I can put the sheep and the goats up here, but that's a pure rock face. So anyways, so the other thing I might have to do is come in and cut this hillside down and get enough dirt in over there to make that all level, but we'll see how it goes. And then this is where I had the dogs and goats last fall. This is where they ended up with all their moves from the nets. You can see the net over there that I still have to take down, and it went right along the forwarder trailer. So this is where we're going to go with the road, cut right up in this way. So if I have to, I might try and take some of this down, but there's that big stone there, and I'm sure there's lots more, because that's all I seem to have is stones. So we'll see what we have to do. If anything, I'll take some of that and bring it down this way and make it nicer slope, level it all out so it's not so rocky. And then we're gonna go up this way. So it would be nice to take some of that hill and bring it down this way and cover up. This is a big wet spot that happens. That's that little pond if you watched any of the winter videos where we were up and logging. Oh no, I think it was the spring. I don't remember. But yeah, I'm gonna push all this brush up into there. Get it away from the little bit of flat spot that I have. Try and windrow it all so that if I ever am able to hire a chipper, that I can come in and they'll spread the chips on top of the dirt, and it'll make it a really nice trail. Alright, so there's a pile of rocks. I'm gonna have to come back in from the bottom and push that all up and get it all out of here and then level this all out. But I just back dragged this with the blade a little bit. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna have to go do chores shortly, but I'm gonna get those stumps out of the next part of the trail, so at least that's done. But it's coming together pretty good. It'd be nice to have an excavator to be able to come in here and dig out the stones and just pile the dirt up so that it's not so thick with all these bigger rocks. But I'll come up here and with the tractor and stuff and clean it up a little bit, and eventually I want to put wood chips on. But here's the size of the rock that I couldn't get out with the dozer. I bet you if I was to cut into that hill or back up there and cut down and cut out the hill, I could probably get it out of there, roll it back up into those trees. I might still do that, but it's not easy to get to. I'll have to come in and push all this stuff out, probably go up back there, push all those trees down, push all this stuff up into a pile over yonder. But I have enough dirt right now, and the more I dig into that hill, the more big stones I'm gonna have to deal with. So that's where the excavator would be nice, but the dozer's working just fine. So I got a little bit to fix up here, but I'm gonna come down here and like I said, de-stump in front of the dozer here, get all those stumps out of my way. A couple of big pines that I hand cut, a couple not this winter, but the last winter, 2020 whatever 4, something like that. So like I showed you earlier, there's a couple big ones, so I'm gonna have to cut all the sides out and try and push them out, but they should be pretty dry and dead right now, so we'll see what we can do. Oopsies, guess I was being a little too rough. Whoops, I did it again. So I got some of the big stumps out, got them pushed up there. I'm gonna try and get these couple out of the way, get them up there too. And probably call it a night because it's starting to get late and I still got some chores to do. So let's see if I can put you somewhere where it's a little bit safer. Let's try right here. Third time's the charm. I'm pushing this last little bit out and calling it a night. That's my sign that I should stop while I'm ahead. Someone's talking to me. Let's see if I can get this little bit pushed out and call her a night. And I'm just probably gonna just level this up a little bit. And then I'm gonna take the top of that hillside over there where the Dozer's sitting right now and push it down into this hole. And level this all out nice so I don't have a low spot. Alright, well, this is where I got to for tonight. If I have to, I can get up there, borrow a bunch of this dirt. I'll have to use that rolling method that the gentleman Marty taught me last summer, to roll the rocks out and then you leave the dirt. And this is where I got to. There's some big stones down here that obviously are gonna take a bit more work, and it's getting late and I got chores to do, so. And then a 2-hour ride in the morning back to trucking school. So, as you can see, I already rolled some of them out. But I'm going to try and cut this down into that low spot there and build it up. And then we might have to come the other way and come down the low spot and build it up. And then I'll probably just wait and see how it does over one winter. And then next year I'll come back in and put culverts in and stuff. So, pushed up as much as I could out of our way. This will let some stuff grow in here. Obviously there's lots of stones. It'll need a final tide over, but like I said, if I have to, I can come in here and cut a bunch of dirt out of here and put it down into there. Mosquitoes are brutal today. It's springtime. So this is what it looks like. We got a fairways today. This needs a couple of fixing a little bit, obviously, because of the big stones in our way. But I may end up having to borrow some of that dirt and pushing it up here to level this part out, because this is still where that bump is and this is where that big divot is. So there's a lot of work to do still, but this part up here looks pretty good. We'll see how it holds up in the rain. Probably be a muddy mess, but it's not supposed to rain for a couple days anyways. I think it's, I don't know what day it is, Tuesday today, so it's not supposed to rain till Thursday or Friday, I think. So, unless we get thunderstorms. Well, this is what it looks like. Another 2 hours in the Dozer, and we've got a pretty fair ways up the trail. Starting to look, shaping into something. Like I said, it'd be nice to have a excavator, pick all the rocks out, make rock piles, but I'll have to worry about that whenever I can afford to buy one of those, or rent one for a long enough period of time. But yeah, it's coming together. So there it starts down there. I gotta fix this part right here somehow. Haven't decided how I'm gonna do that yet, but it's just a little bit too much of a hump. I don't really like it, so I have to try and cut that down. But there's big stones under there, as you saw in the last one. So anyways, everybody, have a great evening, and we'll see you on the next one. Just hiking down from the bush and got a nice cool view. It's a red sun. I don't know how good it's going to show up in this video, but looks pretty good for my view.